We want the truth, so watch Truth Wanted live Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTW and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/calltw.
So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder, what will it take for you to start opening your eyes? I wonder.
I can never not sing. Such a catchy tune. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. It is Sunday, the 13th of March, 2022. I even think I got the year right, which is better than I've been doing thus far this year. It's been 2022 forever, as far as I'm concerned. And we already have a lot of calls in the queue that we have to take, but I would be, everybody's excited to talk to us today,
Yes.
Phil. I'd be
Absolutely.
remiss, however, if I did not introduce our very, very auspicious guest today, who I'm very excited to host with. Who's not hosted? Yeah, I say words sometimes. I don't know if that was appropriate in context, but I don't care. The
Words you
moment's
say.
passed. Today we have Phil Ferguson. Hi, Phil. How you doing?
Buongiorno tutti. That was French, right? That was.
Yes,
understand
that sounds
it?
French
You
to me. I'm
understand
Canadian, and I can affirm that is in fact French. It's absolutely
saying
French. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you before we get into it? Who you are and where they can find you?
Let's see. I got a couple of kids in their 20s. That's a new adventure every week. Wonderful wife who puts up with a large part of my bullshittery. So that's nice.
Valid.
Yeah, I have my business called Polaris Financial Planning. I have been an activist in the secular / atheist / skeptic humanist movement, whatever, for 15 years.
Nice.
I had a website for 5 years where I rose to the level of insignificance. And
Yay!
many people told me I'd be better on a podcast because I have a face for audio. So that there's that. The show is The Phil Ferguson Show, where I talk about politics, religion, and money, the three things you probably should not discuss with your family. So it's all there in one place. I give unfiltered, free ideas about investments and often go through the brute force mathematics of investment scams and how they end up separating you from your money. So lots of fun stuff there.
Valuable information. I've been on your podcast. It was a wonderful experience.
Is this the first time we're together here? I think it is.
Yes. Yeah. I'm almost certain, absolutely certain. So I'm really excited that we get to do this together today.
we're gonna get proof for God today.
Yeah. Well,
You heard it first. I'm pointing to the fence.
I'm amped about it. And apparently
Nice.
everybody else is amped about it too, because our lines are almost full. So if you want to get in, please go get in the lines now, because our call screeners are working diligently and we basically were full before the show even started.
The 30-second thing?
Do I? Oh, well, I've just slightly, not much more patience than Matt. We could do the timer if the crew wants to, but I think that we'll be okay. I think
I have less patience than both of you by quite a stretch. I mean, these arguments don't change. I've heard it all. I don't know.
We'll get the audience to hold us accountable. If we're interrupting before 30 seconds hit, we'll get the live chat to hold us accountable. Are you ready to start taking calls, bud?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's jump right into it. All right. So the first call we have is Clarence. Hi, Clarence. You're on the Atheist Experience. What would you like to talk about today?
Hi, Shannon. Hi, Phil. First, I just wanted to start out by thanking you for starting out by asking me what I want to talk about, or about rather.
Both.
Some talk show hosts start out with a question, how can I help or how can we help? And I find that to be kind of a little condescending, and it kind of gets things off on the wrong track. So I think starting out by saying, what would you like to talk about, it elevates the discourse a little more.
Somebody's familiar with my work. That's what that sounds like. All right, cool. What would you like to talk about?
Well, one thing that there's a lot of problems caused by a theistic outlook, but one thing that I don't hear discussed as often or very much is the issue of anthropocentricity in religions, particularly the Abrahamic religions, and that, in my opinion, can eventually lead to having that kind of outlook can lead to some serious problems. For example, these religions are anthropocentric in the sense that they see God as paying more attention to man and humanity than anything else in the universe. There's all these galaxies and solar systems out there, and yet God seems to be concerned with whether you're masturbating or if you're an Orthodox Jew, whether you're turning your lights on and off on the Sabbath and all that kind of thing. And I think, particularly Christians like to say that man or God created man in his image, when I think what really happened is man created God in his image. And therefore it's kind of arrogant to think that this entity that supposedly created the universe and governs the universe is in kind of the form of a man or a human. That's kind of narcissistic. and I think it can lead to some dangerous consequences, because it leads to this idea of the most important thing in the universe being humanity. And so it leads to this kind of idea that which is celestial is holy and good, and that which is terrestrial is kind of evil and bad. For example, God's up there somewhere, and Satan is down inside the earth and subterranean, and so that kind of means that the earth is kind of inherently evil. And a lot of Christians have this idea that what they're really looking forward to is leaving the earth. They're looking forward to the rapture, where they all get sucked up into the sky. And
I'm gonna halt you for a sec, and just because I think that I'm not sure where we can really go with this, because most of it I would agree with, and that what little quibbles I may have with details of the rest of it might necessarily be inconsequential, because I don't know what do you feel like you would have a disagreement with us, or did you just want to call and let us know that make a proclamation that this is your perspective on Abrahamic religions?
Well, I don't think I have a disagreement, except in the following.
Okay.
I've spoken to you before on the air, and I identify as a scientific pantheist. And a lot of people who are atheists identify as secular humanists, and I think there's they're almost identical, but the fundamental difference between scientific pantheism and secular humanism is that secular humanism tends to be more anthropocentric, like the Abrahamic religions, and scientific pantheism is specifically not anthropocentric. And so if there's any disagreement, I think that's where it would be.
Well, humanism, it's in the name though, right? So humanism is essentially the perspective that when you're building moral systems for humans, that humans should kind of be at the center of that moral system. And I don't know that I necessarily identify as a secular humanist. So I think you might be thrusting that upon me, and just maybe assuming that because I'm an atheist, and I don't know, maybe Phil may feel differently, but that automatically means that I somehow must subscribe to secular humanism, which I see more so as a moral philosophy and less as a religion. Because there's lots of atheists, for example, and I think that you would have to agree with this, atheists in general who wouldn't necessarily be secular humanists, and would be, especially those who maybe are like vegan, for example, who are also atheists, who would prioritize or like put harm against animals like on the same level potentially, or like on a similar level as harm against humans. So like, I don't know that I can really suss out effectively your qualms with secular humanism. I'm interested, however, in why scientific pantheism would inhale that as a component of a moral system. Because when you're talking about when you're talking about religions or moral systems being anthropomorphic, or like having a focus specifically on humans as the central sort of, I guess, like component of how they're derived, why is scientific pantheism somehow different? Does something about it innately entail that everything is equal? Like you wouldn't prioritize humans on any level? Because that's interesting.
I mean, one of the tenets of scientific pantheism is it differentiates itself from mainstream pantheism in that it does not equate nature or the natural world or the cosmos with God, but it does say that we should be reverent of the natural world. And so that's a big emphasis of scientific pantheism. And by being reverent of the natural world, we're considering that, and considering that the world is all about the scientific viewpoint is that, is an ecological viewpoint, that life is interdependent, and so having
from where is that tenet derived? So you said one of the tenets of from where is that tenet derived? Like what about scientific pantheism entails that there's a specific list of things that must be adhered to, and where did you find it?
Well, there are websites that list the tenets of scientific pantheism and lay out the difference between. And
who decided what they should be?
I'm sorry?
Who decided what they should be before they put them on that website?
It was a vote.
A bunch of people who identified as scientific pantheists got together and talked about it.
Oh, okay, so it's basically the same as something like secular humanism then, in that a bunch of humans got together and decided what their goals were or what they believed, and then set out like a list of regulations that.
Hey, Shannon, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, start though. Go ahead.
If a bunch of scientific pantheists got together to make the rules for scientific pantheism, were they scientific pantheists before they made the rules because they didn't know what the rules were to call themselves scientific pantheists?
I like that question.
Wow.
Scientific pantheism kind of evolved or grew out of mainstream pantheism, and so what they were trying to do is differentiate themselves from mainstream pantheisms by saying we don't equate the natural world with God. We have no use for the concept of God, so we're going to approach this somewhat differently. So that's where that came from. If that answers your question, I don't know.
Well, I was kind of being a smart ass, but if the gist of what you're saying is that we should use science and not act like there's a God, cool, dude, I'm down.
Yeah. I think we probably agree on more than we disagree with if we had like a significantly broader amount of time to like suss it out. But unfortunately, we have like a bunch of calls in the queue that are waiting. So it was.
I'm sure we agree on just about everything. I mean, there's very little disagreement here. So I just wanted to basically emphasize the problem of anthropocentrism in religion, and it's something that's not talked about as much, and it kind of leads to this idea of man against nature, or man conquering nature as being the objective of everything, and that has led to the environmental mess that we're in right now. So basically, that's my point.
All right. Well, thank you for calling, and we will hopefully have another chance to talk later on. Have a good day, Clarence. See you later.
Great. Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Take care.
Bye. All right, cool. Scientific pantheism. I'm gonna need to have a look and see more about that.
Who knew? Who knew?
Who knew? Who knew? And if you like what we do here and you want to hear more of callers like Clarence, you can, pardon me, you can do all kinds of things to support us here at the ACA. You can become a member of the channel for as little as 99 cents a month. There's a join button down below. It's right below this video right now. And that'll give you access to special chat emojis. I am a few of the chat emojis now, apparently. So, I mean, do with that what you will. I haven't been a chat emoji until recently, but apparently now I am
There you
a
go.
live chat emoji. That's a very, very, very great time in my life to be a live chat emoji. It's something new for me. And this is just one of the shows that the ACA puts on. If you want to check out our other shows as well, you can check out Secular Sexuality. That's on Thursday starting at 7 p.m. Central. Truth Wanted, which I just hosted actually this past Friday, or guest hosted, sorry, with MD Aware, is on Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. So if you want to go see that, check that out. That's still up. And then we have our Sunday shows. We have Talk Heathen, which airs at 1 p.m. Central, and the Nonprofits, which is on right before this show. And then always, of course, there's the Atheist Experience. And if you'd like to support us, you can also join our Patreon, which is at tiny.cc//Patreon AXP. So yeah, support the ACA. Woohoo! Ready for more, Phil?
I think so. I think
You better be, because we're taking more. Okay, perfect. Oh, I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this. We're going to talk to Shane. Hi, Shane. You're on the Atheist Experience. What would you like to talk with us about today?
Hey guys.
Hey.
So
Hey.
I was actually looking on YouTube the other day, watching a movie, and y'all's advertisement came up. And
Oh,
it said
cool.
something to the effect of celebrating 25 years of refuting the existence of God.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to lay some math on you, okay?
Oh,
Daniel.
neither one of us know anything about math. This should be great.
And the book of Revelation, God gives us the math problems, okay?
Okay.
So the second to the last verse of Daniel chapter 12, it says,
Is that
"Blessed are
Revelations?
those who wait and come to 1335.
You said
Daniel's
Revelation.
the
Skip to Daniel.
Right. And
I think we're confused as to what Revelations has to do with Daniel. Like, because they're different books, right?
it has a lot to do with Daniel. Those books are, Isaac Newton wrote. You know, Isaac Newton wrote more about Bible than he did science. And
I
one
don't
of the
really,
things
but
he
whatever.
wrote about
That's
was
fine.
the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel.
Okay.
Focus for it, Shane. You said Revelation. Do you want to talk about Revelation? or
Okay.
Daniel?
Revelation. Yeah. Let's get on the math. What's the Revelation math problem?
Comes from the book of Daniel. This
Okay.
actually comes from the book of Daniel. It says, "Blessed are those who wait and come to the 1335." All right. So I took the starting date for a reason. I can't go into that right now. As Muhammad said, and you have to understand.
Wait, no, you have to go. You can't say that there's a math problem that proves the Bible. And if I insert this random date that I can't explain why I inserted, then my math makes
Not
sense.
even in the
All
Bible.
I'm asking is for you to listen to me. All I'm asking is you to listen to me.
I'm
All
trying.
we're asking
Okay.
is for you to
I'm
make
asking
sense.
you to
Go
listen
ahead.
to me.
Muhammad.
But I came to it for a reason, because right after Muhammad died, Islam took control of the Holy Land and had control of the Holy Land for just about the entire time until 1917 and the end of World War I. Okay? But if you take 632, Muhammad died on 6/8/632. Which
Okay.
in numbers, you have the 6 month is 0.5. So 632.5.
Wait, no, now we're in numbers? Are we in?
I'm
Like,
lost.
you mean numbers, the Bible book?
Heard what I've got to say yet?
I don't understand what you're trying to say. Like, I can't even follow what you're saying is the problem. Like, I can't sit. You expect me to sit and listen to you when I can't follow what you're saying. So you said something about the book of Revelations, and then Daniel, and then Muhammad died, and now we're back in numbers. Like, you're not cogently tying this together in a way that's understandable. I can listen all I want, but if you're not making sense, the listening's not going to help.
Making sense. It is
It's
making sense.
not.
You take
To you, not to the person you're attempting to communicate it to.
Tell me. Just listen to me.
Okay.
Go forward 1,335 years.
Why?
I think 1336 years is the right number.
That was
What?
1335.
Okay, wait. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you just so I can see if no, I need to follow what's happening up to this point. So we're in Revelations, and then we went back to Daniel, and then we jumped to when Muhammad died, which was 600 and something, and then they took over the Holy Land until 1917, and now somehow we got the number 600 and something, and we don't understand. I just don't understand. Like, where are you getting like these arbitrary numbers from?
You can't do this. This is why you can't do this, because I'm fixing to show you something that's irrefutable. It's multiple times the same dates get pinned.
Oh
Same
my God.
date. If you take 632.5 and you go forward 1,335 years, you land on 1967.5. Do you know what happened in 1967?
I do. I was born.
6 days.
Phil was born. Phil's genius.
67.5. I am. What does that make me? Does that make me the?
Phil, you're fulfilling whatever prophecy we're about to hear.
Yeah,
about.
I'm the next savior.
Y'all are scared to hear what I have to say, aren't you?
I am confused as fuck. I am not afraid. I am
You're not very
confused.
smart.
I like the capacity to
You're
understand what
not
you're
very
saying.
fucking smart if you can't understand.
Oh my goodness.
Shane's feelings got hurt.
Oh my gosh. Shane.
You know what? Actually, we could just put that on loop if we could get every Christian in the world to listen to that.
Like, if you want somebody to understand.
That's what we hear.
The holy land of Jerusalem.
Was he going?
What?
Shane, were you talking during that whole thing? That's awesome.
I think so. Yeah, that's not uncommon. Like, Shane, if you want us to understand what you're saying, yelling that we're not smart and not clarifying when we ask for elaboration because we can't follow you,
Well, then you
isn't
ask
it
for elaboration. Tell me to clarify what you want to know.
Okay. Why are you starting? Let's all go all the way back to Revelations. Why are you starting with Revelations?
No,
What about
it's
Revelations?
Daniel. It's the book of Daniel.
Okay. So you said Revelations and that's just superfluous. When you said Revelations, it's superfluous. So we'll just ignore that. Okay. So we start in Daniel. So when you start in Daniel, how do you get from Daniel to your next step?
Because Abraham had two sons.
That is way before Daniel. We're back in way before Daniel now then. Okay.
That's the book of Genesis.
I'm aware. Thank you.
Cast out the bondwoman and her son. Your seed will be called through Isaac.
Okay.
Isaac is the 12 tribes of Israel. You're taking the death date of Muhammad, who is a direct descendant of Ishmael.
I can't.
Who
Can't,
said
Shannon.
God cast out the bondwoman and her son.
I'm going to have to go get a
Right?
drink and leave
land
you on your own.
7.5.
Okay, Shane, I need you to suss this out better and call us back
Yeah.
because this is not, we are not able to
say.
You're not saying anything worth refuting. Okay, we're going to just let you go.
Just move on.
We're going to just take a beat. We're going to take a breath. I was really excited for that. I thought there was going to be some actual math. I thought he was going to say, if you look at the book of Daniel, you see this number and you can connect it here. But that was just a cluster bomb
Yeah, that's
of irrelevant information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a big long list, so let's get another one.
We do. Before we do that, we need to talk about if you'd like to hear that conversation in podcast format. Just in case you didn't get enough of that, you can hear it in podcast format along with all of other shows. Because, you may need to hear that again and you may not want the visuals because they're distracting and you might be able to focus in on what Sean there was trying to say to us. If you go to tiny.cc/AN podcast, you can hear all of our shows there. It's not just the Atheist Experience. You can also hear Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, Secular Sexuality, Nonprofits. All of the shows are aggregated there. So if you like listening while you run and maybe can take out a pen and paper and try to draw like a flow chart of whatever the hell just happened, maybe you could go listen there and have a pen and paper in hand and let us know Just let me know what happened, because I don't know what happened. There's also 3 Facebook groups. If you want to go there and have a conversation and share the flow chart that you can draw, just tag me in it so that I can see what happened. You can go
Shannon,
to
tag Shannon. Don't tag me.
don't tag me. Don't do that to Phil. Don't do that. He's been through enough. It's been through enough, really. The first is the Atheist Experience fan group. That's tiny.cc/FBAXP. And there's also the private fan group. If you're not somebody who is out yet and you want to be able to have the experience of interacting, test out your arguments, you can go to that private fan group and it won't show up on any of your pages on Facebook. Tiny.cc/. Face group, yeah, but that's how old I am. It's on this space book in the face groups. Tiny.cc/FBAXPPR. And there's also a brand new group. It's the Atheist Experience fan group, and it's like atheist debates. So you can atheists and theists can debate each other, and you can try out some of your arguments there with theists and atheists alike. And it's tiny.cc/AXP fan debates. And hopefully in all of those, somebody will tag me in something that makes sense of that. We need a call with substance. Let's see. We're going to see what Kevin's got going on. Kevin can do it. I believe in Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
Welcome. Hey.
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 You gave that much time to... Hi.
Hi.
If you gave that much time to make fun of the last guy, you can give me 3 minutes to read my what I posted today about miracles and the proof of God.
I don't know. We're not going to have it. No, we don't. This isn't a negotiation. We're not having a 3-minute speech right now. If you would like to have a
courtesy, what
right.
happened?
I know.
I mean, I demand that you must do this on your show.
And for the record, he would have had significantly more time if any of that had made any sense. So, just start with making sense, and then we'll go from there. What would you like to talk about?
Sure, I'll just start. I believe recorded miracles and near-death experiences, many of which are witnessed by doctors, are the proof God exists. The reason why miracles are unexplained and cannot be reproduced is because God is the only one who can cause them to happen. The reason why there is no other physical proof of God is because God is a physical being.
He's not presenting anything. Yeah. That doesn't make for a fun conversation, Kevin. We're not here just to hear you rant for 3 minutes.
Stopped.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that was it. Well, I can do a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. You said that was it.
Well, I could read another 2 paragraphs if you want, but
yeah, I could sit and read the Bible to you. Why would we want to do that? Just tell us what you believe in your own words.
Posted that is my own words. I just wrote this today on Facebook.
Okay, so you believe that God is the only person who can perform miracles, right? So that's where you landed at the end there. So obviously you believe miracles take place, and the reason that they take place is because of God. So you are and you believe that something like a near-death experience is a miracle. Obviously, it's am I understanding you correctly? There, that's far.
Yeah, people having out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences when they can record what's going on around them outside of their body from a different perspective.
What do you mean record?
Outside their body. They can
take my phone with me and record
when they're dead, and when they're dead on the hospital bed, they can tell the doctors what there was talk about what was going on in the hospital room at the time of their death while they're outside their body observing this.
They're not really dead though, right? Because if you're dead, you're dead. There's not gradients of dead. There's other dead.
How is
it
recorded? I got lost in recorded. You said they can record things out of their body. What did they record with?
No. They can't. That's another part of it. We can't use instruments to record God or the spiritual world because our instruments are made for this potentiality. We can't have instruments.
Are you saying that you were in error by using the word record, and I should just move on from that?
Yeah.
Yes.
The people who are having NDE, who are dead outside of their bodies, still alive in their spiritual body, can record and tell you what happened at the time.
What are they recording with?
They were dead on. Well, they can. I'm just saying they can. I use the wrong word.
English the first language, Kevin. I want to make sure before
I think he means recount, they can recall and then articulate.
Recall?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I think he means.
Okay, so you don't mean record then?
Yeah. Okay, let's carry on.
Yeah. So they can testify what their experience is. So if you ask them, they can say, I had X experience. That's kind of what you mean? Right?
Yeah.
Or I feel like I saw this, I heard this, I felt this, those sorts of things. Right?
They remember being in their spiritual astral body outside of their physical bodies while watching what the doctors are doing and saying while they're resuscitating them.
Okay. All right. So I'm with you on that. Now, is it possible that experience that they're having, like, are you willing to entertain the possibility that experience that they had, that perceptual experience, wasn't actually them outside of their physical body?
I mean, you could say it's a chemical reaction in their brain making them have psychosis or whatnot. But
no. Okay, no. I'm gonna the brain scientist in me is having a nervous breakdown right now, because you can't. Psychosis is not.
That's something else.
That's dramatically different. So we're talking about perceptual anomalies, right? So we're talking about people having perceptual anomalies while they're in an unconscious state. That's not psychosis. It's not uncommon. It's basically what a dream is. The only difference is when somebody has a near-death experience. And I think you also conflated several terms as well, because you said they are dead and they come back to life. There is no coming back to life once you're dead. Otherwise, resurrections would be commonplace and Jesus wouldn't be so freaking special, right? Like, you're either dead or you're not dead. So... And then your other conflation in terms is saying that people are having out-of-body experiences when they haven't even flatlined, which is, I think, what you're talking to, which isn't actual death. Actual death is the prevention of sodium and ion transmission across the nucleic cell membrane in the neurons in your brain. That's actual, real, legitimate death. Like, there's no coming back from that. So when they're on the operating table, that's a different type of what you would call near-death experience. Like, there is a gradient of what people would consider those to be, like in the circumstances where they take place. In almost all circumstances where they take place, though, there is no sort of cooperation. There's folklore about this sort of cooperation that if you dig into it, you really can't find it being substantiated in any sort of real and meaningful way. It's not really repeatable, and I beg your pardon?
It's impossible. You can't reproduce something that's happened spiritually that happens miraculously, right?
Well, you're just assuming, but Kevin, you're just asserting that it's happening miraculously.
Yeah.
There's mundane explanations for these types of brain events, right? So there really and legitimately are mundane explanations for these types of brain events. I'm a proponent of it, that there's a receptor in your brain that's on most of your neurons, and it's called sigma-6. And the sigma-6 receptor is and people may argue with me on the minutiae of this from a neuroscience perspective, but I think that this makes sense. Like, if there's a chemical that's endogenous in your system that's called DMT, and some people call it like the spirit chemical or whatever, but it actually helps to fluctuate allowing oxygen in and out of your neurons. So it's just something that in our system allows oxygen in and out of our neuronal cells. So and it's also an hallucinogen. It's both of those things. It does both of those things. And it's produced in just really small quantities generally. But if you have oxygen deprivation, in order to prevent something called apoxia, and apoxia is when your cells no longer have enough oxygen to stay alive, a little bit more DMT is produced, and your sigma-6 receptors start to suck the DMT in a little bit more as part of a survival mechanism. And because DMT is a natural hallucinogen, when your sigma-6 receptors are attempting to prevent cell hypoxia in your neurons, they will start to take the DMT in order to regulate, to prevent that hypoxia, which can cause a hallucinogenic experience. And that hallucinogenic experience, from a perceptual perspective, can seem exceptionally real. So that's a mundane explanation from a neuroscience perspective that accounts for everything that you've just said without you providing external cooperation. So you're just asserting at this point that it's some sort of magic spirit thing based on things that you've heard that seem to affirm what you already believe and sound cool to you, without actually looking into the science of what brains do.
all these chemical reactions you're talking about are randomness, right?
Whoa! No, they're
Wow.
not. Oh my God, they're incredibly regulated. Are you kidding? They're not
Shannon,
random at
You
all.
need to go back like 2 minutes because everything you just said got ignored. Cold, hard
It's not
ignoring.
random.
Absolutely amazing.
It's you can
I'm impressed.
predict it.
Kevin, I'm impressed. That was the most,
Good, then, if it's not random.
the greatest lack of understanding of what was just said to you. I think I may have ever heard on the show.
Oh man. Okay.
But it's not random though. Like it's
Conscious, comprehensive experiences. This isn't just some oops in their brain. Doctors have these experiences, have had these NDEs themselves. When their brain dead, heart stopped. This person.
I'm so
awareness.
Yeah.
They're having awareness.
I don't know that you necessarily heard anything about, like, I'm giving you an actual physiological explanation for these types of experiences that people have that seem like very vivid and lucid and real for those people. And there's a physiological explanation. I mean, and it's one of many, like that's just one of many explanations. It's one that I think makes a great deal of sense. And I'm sure there may be even some neuroscientists that kind of disagree with me on that. But to me, it makes a lot of sense because apoxia is something that happens when you go through oxygen deprivation, and those receptors would become more active. And a chemical that, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Science.
Kevin, you brought the word miracle. Can you define a miracle?
A miracle is when something happens that we can't explain and understand or detect why it happened.
But like I explained
so,
it.
I'm just, it's curious because so miracles only happen when you're ignorant. Is that what you just said?
Well, yeah, we're very ignorant human beings, aren't we?
Okay.
We don't know
So,
shit.
I mean, that's the first thing we've agreed on, I think.
Yeah.
The
absence of knowledge is part of the definition of what a miracle is. That's the ground you want to stand on.
When things happen, at this point,
yes, I meant it as a yes or no, Kevin. I mean, is that you said it. I'm double checking because I'm going somewhere with this. You're saying that your lack of understanding of something that happened is part of what makes something a miracle.
Doctors,
if that's
PhDs, highly
so he can't answer the question because the problem is that if that's your position that you stated, I'm just taking your words. If that's your position, then miracles are more likely to happen the more ignorant you are. And I don't mean stupid, just ignorant. If you're ill-informed, you don't have the information, you don't know how the sun comes up in the morning, you don't know why the moon has a light. If you're ignorant, the more things you're ignorant of, based on your definition, the more likely you are going to see a miracle. I just think that's not a good place to be.
Well, you think we're going to explain miracles one day when we get more technology, or?
We don't think that miracles happen. I think that maybe that's a disconnect. We don't think miracles are. We think that there's explanations for things that we attribute as miracles.
Thanks for confirming that what I said was correct, because your follow-up was not addressing anything that I said, but reaffirming, oh, maybe someday when we know more things, we'll show that miracles didn't happen. Yeah, when we know things, miracles don't happen.
You think, but
it was your definition.
It's like, it's another thing like spirit, like psychics and mediums. There's so much evidence to spirituality.
Wow, you think psychics are real?
That's not good evidence. Like you and I have different standards of evidence, evidently, like just drastically and dramatically different standards of evidence.
It's the most amazing thing for me to hear that someone is converting or comparing their religious experience to a psychic or a medium. That's profound. That's the level of evidence you need to believe that something is real is way lower than the average person.
The only way we can detect God is with our minds, with our consciousness, because that's the only way God exists. Like he doesn't.
That's the only way we can detect anything, though.
So,
it's literally the only way we can detect anything.
If someone thinks God is real and they die, does God die too? Because you just said he only exists in the mind.
Hey, well, I believe the New Testament is literal and it is verifiable.
Literal.
That is a hard right turn. Hard right turn.
Literal? It's literal? The definitions of how we should beat our slaves are literal. The fact that you should leave your family and sell your goods and even sell your clothes and buy a sword so you can follow Jesus, who doesn't bring peace and joy. He brings a sword and he separates families. You think all of that is, first of all, literal. And then I'm assuming you think that shit's a good idea, that we should sell our clothes and buy a sword. That's where you're going.
You got to put it in context. You got to take this in context.
It's always in context. Did Jesus make water into wine?
It is always in context. Well, I don't know. Do you want to get a buzz on with dinner? Or are you going to drink water or wine? You got to put things in context. Like, come on.
Okay, Kevin. All right. I think we're done now. Like, just think about what I said. Maybe listen back, because I think it does explain what your potential evidence was. Like, with using a mundane explanation for something that you're attributing as a miracle that is just, a common occurrence given what we understand about brain chemistry.
Shannon.
I'm going to let you go, though. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Have a delightful afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you.
I feel bad for Christians that these are your representatives. These are the people that have come forth to try to explain something. And I don't know. I think the guy in the street corner with a billboard and a giant a Christian flag is going to be more rational than the callers we've had today. I don't know. I feel bad for the average believer. That's just pretty amazing.
Oh man,
stuff.
Yes, that's a lot. Well, if you'd like to see the type of things that all of the hosts of our other shows have been saying when calls like this take place, now's the time, because we are going to show you what's been up on all of our other ACA shows this week.
The greatest sign of like a success or happiness in your marriage is whether or not you would feel comfortable expressing to your partner, a finger in my butt would actually be great right now.
Said, take me to your leader. Who exactly would you take them to?
Greg.
But wait, you have to explain who Greg is for people who don't know.
Well, to me, he's God, but...
Right. Greg's our executive producer.
Yeah.
A local authority shall not intentionally promote homosexuality or publish material with the intention of promoting homosexuality, or promote the teaching in any maintained school of the acceptability of homosexuality as a pretend family relationship.
Honestly, you guys haven't learned anything from the Bible.
You know what, Grant? I don't think you've learned anything from history class. I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there.
Learned anything.
The whole hang-up that you have for the moral argument getting to the existence of God, if it's just independent of God, you don't need the God. You have it's something that's sovereign over God. You wouldn't require that. You just have kind of like this hangnail for no reason that you need to clip off.
Awesome. If you enjoyed what you saw there, you should go and check out the other shows. If you haven't, you are missing out. They're all a bunch of fun, and there is so much more content that you can see that is very much worthwhile. All right, we took a beat.
Hey, Shannon, you want to see a miracle?
Oh God, yeah, I would love to. Please
see this pen?
Yeah,
it fell, and I don't know why.
I can't explain it.
I can't explain that. It's a miracle. It's in the Bible.
Oh man.
Phillips 1.1. Don't drop a pen. It will fall.
Well, I guess that I have to quit the show now, because now I'm not an atheist anymore. I've been converted. Praise Isaac Newton, who wrote so much about the Bible that it's hard not to believe in gravity if you don't believe in him evidently existing and writing things.
I think there's now been more written about Harry Potter than about the Bible.
I don't know. It might be close. All right, we're gonna take another call. I think I'm ready. Don't be yelly. We got it. Okay. All right. Dominic. Hi, Dominic.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to talking about you. You're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects. So let's get into it. What would you like to have a discussion with us again today?
Okay, well, first of all, let me thank both of you guys for letting me on the show.
Happy to have you.
And let me start by saying the following.
Okay.
I have a way to prove that gods and immortals are real. And I have a way to prove that a soul is real. And I also have a way to prove if a path you're following is of divine origin in regards to ascending.
Okay, so why don't we start with your way to prove gods are real, because we have limited time. So
Did you say
that
gods
really takes
and immortals?
Gods and immortals, yeah.
Are immortals different than gods?
I'll get into it a little bit. Okay, so let me start by telling you that what I'm about to tell you, I speak only for myself. I'm not representing anyone else with what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Why is there always got to be a preamble? Can't you just give us what you got? Go for it.
Okay, so there's this meditation practice. It's called Falun Dafa. It's also called Falun Gong, and it teaches to tell the truth, to be benevolent, and to endure. So basically, to become better people. And it explains a lot about the universe and the stuff that I just explained. And currently, it's being persecuted by the Chinese Communist government. That's how I found out about it, through the people giving out flyers in New York City. So I got into the practice, and it revealed a lot of things to me. And during the course of my ascending, because the practice is about becoming a Buddha, and during the course of me ascending and trying to become a Buddha, certain things were revealed to me. And one of the things that was revealed to me is the following. The way you can prove immortals are real is to analyze the nature of human beings and the nature of human origins. Basically, what I understand is that Buddhas, like, you have certain beings called, like, immortal beings. Some of them are called Buddhas, some of them called gods, some of them called immortals. And basically, some of them falling off resulted in them becoming human. And there's a way you can show this is true. Like, let's start with ignorance. Let me ask you a question, Shannon or Phil. Anyone can answer, right? Okay. Do you have a way to show that gods are real? Yes or no?
I don't think God is real, so I would say no, you can't.
I'll go with no.
Okay, and
I'm going to step bolder, neither do you, but go ahead.
Okay, so with you having no way to show it's real, right? Like, you don't know whether it's real or not, right?
No, I'm convinced that it's not real. I'm absolutely
I'm going to go even further. I'm convinced it can't be real.
I would probably kind of agree with that. Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Okay, so would it be fair for me to say, like, you don't know whether there's a God or not?
No, because I feel as though I know that there is not a God, the same way that I know that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 720.
Yeah, I would not say for me that it's like this I might or might not 50-50 toss-up thing. I think the profound lack of evidence, the profound diversity of religion within the world shows that there's likely to be nothing to it, because more than two people should agree on how this stuff works. We have thousands, if not tens of thousands of types of Christianity just in the United States because they can't all agree. It's actually profound that they can't agree. But so go ahead. What's your next flowchart item?
Okay, so because of you not knowing, have you ever, like, contemplated mentally whether or not there's a God or not?
That literally we host a show where we talk about it every week. No.
I don't even understand the formatting of that question. Because you don't know, have you ever thought of what if?
Yeah. In order to form an opinion, you kind of have to think about it, one would assume.
Yeah.
Okay, because
the first
I'll tell you something.
The first question you asked was, do you have an opinion on X? And the second question you had was, have you ever thought about X?
Yeah, gosh, no, I never thought about it after my long.
I never thought about that thing I formulated an opinion on.
Yep, never.
So you say, okay. So have you ever? What I'm saying is, have you ever thought about whether or not there could be a God because of you being in a position in which you don't know if there is a God or not?
Well, you're also attributing a position specifically to me where I assert there is no God. I just actively assert that there is no God. It's not that I'm unsure. I'm not sitting on the fence. I'm not curious about it, but abstaining from making a decision. I don't even think that there's a coherent definition of a God that is internally consistent.
At how nonsensical your question is, and then after Shannon very politely explained to you why it was nonsensical, you re-asked it. I don't know. Is it? Are we breaking up when you hear us? Is it not coming through clear? I don't understand what the problem with the communication is here.
No, I was trying to ask a question because I wanted to show you something. Like what I want.
Yes, we've both thought about it. We both thought about it then. Like, let's just, we've both thought about it.
Okay, so what I want to show you is that when someone doesn't know something, is it fair to say that they possess a certain level of ignorance in regards to what they don't know?
No, that's not
No.
fair to say. No.
No.
You
Like
so
this,
if some
this red pen,
Go.
I don't know that it's blue. That doesn't mean that it is or isn't blue. So not knowing doesn't tell you anything about what you don't know. You just don't know. So I think you ran into a dead end, and I'm glad we're here to help you with that.
And also, my answer to your first question prevented your need for the second questions, because I see where you're kind of where you're going now. You're saying like, do you know for sure there is no God? Basically, was kind of your first question. My answer to that is yes. I feel as though I know. The second question is, have you thought about it? Yes, I have thought about it. And the third question is, I think, dependent on us being ambiguous about it and not saying, yes, like definitively no to the first question.
And this is one of those things, I think, Shannon, there's a script being read here, and the process is to lead you or me or both of us down this process. And at each step, we're saying, no, that's not the case. And it falls apart. But apparently Dominic can't stop reading the script, even though we've broken it. So
I'm invested now though. So I'm curious. So, all right. So no, I don't think there is a God. Yes, I have thought about it. So your third question is, do I believe that not knowing something entails some degree of ignorance about that thing? Is that your third question?
No, what I'm trying to show you is this. Because of ignorance, a lack of knowledge.
Okay.
Cause people to think about certain things is what I was trying to show you. For example, in my case, like if I didn't know if there was a God or not, I would be ignorant concerning whether there was a God. And because of that, I could stop thinking about finding an answer as to whether or not there is what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, I think you're misusing the word ignorant there, though. Like, do you see where you might be misusing the word ignorant? Like, if you can say, I'm not 100% sure whether there is or isn't a God, but not be ignorant about myriad information pertaining to that claim. So you could have deliberated on a multitude of evidence that pertains to that claim, which would make you not ignorant of things pertaining to that claim. So like for you to be completely ignorant, you would have had to have access to no information about that claim, right?
Not necessarily, because to be completely ignorant, you'd have to have no.
What does the word ignorant mean to you?
Lack of knowledge.
It means lack of knowledge. So it means that you don't have knowledge on the subject at all, right?
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not saying like you have no knowledge of the subject. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be absolutely no knowledge, just a certain portion of knowledge you're lacking. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so you're saying that, so let's use another hypothetical since we're using hypotheticals right now. So let's say that all of the evidence that's been presented to me that I deliberated over pertaining to a God is all the evidence there is. Am I ignorant then?
Not necessarily, because that would simply be all the knowledge, all the evidence.
Definitionally, the answer would have to be no there. Like if you're honest, definitionally, the answer would have to be no, because I now have access to all of the information. I'm not ignorant of the information. Definitionally, in this hypothetical, I have access to all of it, right? So in this hypothetical, which you can't disprove, like we could even say it's reality. I could say, okay, so far as I'm concerned, I have access to and have deliberated all of the information pertaining to a God that is available. So I am not ignorant of any of it. And I've determined that there's no God after deliberating all of the information. You seem to be looking for a hole to plug ignorance into so that you can say that when there's ambiguity pertaining to something that like we haven't currently been presented with evidence for, that ignorance is a hole, like a God-shaped hole that can demonstrate that God is at the very least a probability. But a probability isn't sufficient for a belief, right? Like a limited probability.
To have a miracle, you have to be ignorant of how it actually works, and to have a God, you have to be ignorant. Is that where we're going here?
No,
seems like
that's not all where I'm going. No.
Okay.
So
okay. Cool. Break on this.
Of a deity, then let's go that route.
Okay, I'm trying to show you with ignorance how humans came into being is where I'm going.
Yeah, but if you want to say anything, you're going to start by saying, I'm going to explain something to you by discussing how ignorant you are. Why don't you just explain it to us? So assume we're ignorant, just for laughs, and give us the evidence.
Cool. Yeah, do that.
Okay. Let's just do that. So
Cool.
let's say let's say someone doesn't know if there's a God or not, right? Like
That's not evidence. That's you're rehashing what we just all agreed to not do. What's the evidence?
I was trying. Okay, let me just say it. Like what I was trying to say is that because of ignorance, right? People could think about certain things.
Let me go. Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to hear your point after all this, please. I need to pay off.
Okay, and because people think about certain things, they possess a certain awareness of what they're thinking about. For example, if you think right now, I am Shannon, you're aware of those thoughts. If you think right now, I am Phil, you're aware of those thoughts. And because you are aware, structures and forms come into being. Because let's suppose like all awareness were to cease utterly throughout the totality of reality.
No, I can't. You're breaking my brain, dude. If I don't think about myself, if I'm not aware of myself, I cease to exist. I think that is just so boldly wrong that it's embarrassing for you. I can't believe you said it.
Yeah, like you'd have to poof out of existence when you were under anesthesia.
Yeah,
for that to make sense.
Shit, I'm not doing another dental surgery.
Right, like, and also it ignores everything we know about perceptual cognition from like a neuroscience perspective.
And what happens when a person's in a coma? What if they really do lose the awareness that they exist? Do they stop existing? Do they vaporize? Do they go somewhere else? They don't. They're still there.
That's not what I meant.
What did you mean then? Because that's what we heard you say.
Yep.
So what did you mean? If that's not what you.
Like because you can't, like when someone's in a coma, exactly, you can't exactly say the nature they have that is aware is gone.
Yeah, well, we made our point on the whole body thing. Give us the evidence that we're still waiting for.
Okay, so let's say you have awareness now. Because you now have awareness, you can now have names and forms that things have. Because when you're aware, you could give names to things, right? For example, if you have a son or daughter, you could give that person a name because of you being aware. You can use your awareness to develop a name for that person. And you could also use your awareness to direct yourself to alter the forms that things have. So you can have
alter the forms that things have.
Okay, what do I have to do to make this not be a phone? Like, what do I do to make this not be a phone? Like to alter the form of it. So I've named this phone. I, Shannon, have deemed this with my conscious experience to be a phone. I have given it a name. Now what do I have to do as Shannon to alter the form of this phone?
A simple example would be to just break it in two pieces.
So so you're just saying that we can manipulate the physical environment. That's all. Is that all you're attempting to say? Is that we can use our bodies to manipulate the physical environment? That's not changing the form of something.
When I cut a pizza in half, do I have two pizzas? That's awesome.
Oh, I'm exceptionally confused. Like this is a long road to hoe to get to a point that doesn't really like.
No, and the point is there isn't evidence, because if he had some, he would have given even a tease of it by now. But all we get is questions.
Yeah, I'm super confused.
Yep.
Well, I'm not getting there.
Again, Christians, you got to call in, because if these are your representatives, damn, I'm really worried for you.
And we have more calls too. Like, so I'm gonna give you one more chance, Dominique, to try to give me your elevator pitch. Like in under 30 seconds, give me your elevator pitch for why it is that I should believe in this God that you're attempting to get me to that's not effectively happening yet.
Okay. So within the culture of the Buddha, within the culture of the Buddhas, there's something called dependent origination, and there's something called the 12 links of dependent origination. It starts with ignorance and it ends with death, basically. And there's a pattern that shows how ignorance gave rise to mortal beings, right? And if you follow that pattern in reverse, you'll understand that the beings that gave rise to the ignorance to become mortal were not mortal prior to becoming ignorant, is what I'm trying to tell you. And you could follow the chain and understand how humans and mortals came into being.
All
okay,
right.
so you've hit your 30 seconds. I am still an atheist. I am going to let you go now. I'm not sure I followed where any of that was leading, but I appreciate the conversation, Dominique. Have a good
Thank
rest
you.
of your day. I'm maybe
Wow.
more confused than I was when we started.
Is the purpose of this show to make me more convinced that Christianity is wrong? Because
I'm just
that
he was a
worked.
Buddhist by the sounds of it. It sounded like he was a Buddhist, but
Okay, when religion.
wow. But a Buddhist that believes in God, it's interesting. Okay, I don't know what God.
I may have to
You know
go get
what?
some alcohol and come back.
I know that was a huge mistake that I made. I'm drinking water today. That was.
Oh my God.
We all make
Nice
choices.
limoncello.
Sometimes we make wrong. Oh my gracious! All right, before we take the next call, though,
A commercial?
just in case. Yeah, no. Before we take the next call, yeah, that's right. I'm the commercials today. I am the commercials, everyone. Just to let you guys know that you can get Atheist Experience merchandise. If you want to get some AXP merchandise, you can go to tiny.cc/merch.aca. You can get like shirts and hoodies and coffee mugs. I have a coffee mug. It's pretty cool.
Those are pretty cool. Yeah,
Stickers.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, it's a good coffee mug. I love it. And right below the chat, you'll notice that there's a donate now box. And that means that you can donate to the ACA, and 100% of the proceeds, since we are 501c3, go to the ACA. YouTube does not take a cut. That's probably the best way to support us. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, you can go join the ACA Discord. And the ACA Discord is tiny.cc/ACD Discord. And I will be there after the show today if anybody wants to explain to me what the hell is going on today, I think Phil might be there after the show. So, it must be. That's the only explanation that makes sense.
Saturn in the 7th house today? I don't know. I can't.
That's the only thing that I can think of. And we want to give a big thank you finally, and this is the most important thing that we ever do on the show, to all of our crew and volunteers. Thank you guys. Yeah,
Yes.
crew. Woo! Thank you to the crew. You guys make all of this possible. You guys are so dedicated. And I can never thank you guys enough. I just show up and make mouth noises and look really confused and upset at the state of that. They do all of the hard work. They do all of the hard work. So thank you so much, crew. We love you guys and we appreciate you. And we still have a pile more callers, and we only have like 30 minutes left. Okay. All right. Are you ready? We're going to take another one. We're going to talk to John. All right. Hi, John. What would you like to discuss today?
Hey guys. Hey, Shannon.
Hi, John. Thank you for calling. What would you like to talk about?
I want to get this. I just want to get this straight. My actual name isn't John, but I'm just using that for cover purposes.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's just like the New Testament. It's all good.
100%. Except I'm not a Christian. I'm actually a Muslim.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. What would you like to discuss?
I just wanted to ask you guys regarding the issue of hell. How can I, get over this fear of hell?
Okay. It depends on what your fear is grounded in, I think would be the first step. So do you still...
No, it's...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, I just...
Yeah,
go ahead.
Shannon, the thing is... Yeah, sorry, the call is lagging, so I don't want to talk over you. So basically, since I was a kid, I've been brain fed and brainwashed with all these things like, if you do good, you're going to end up in paradise. If you do bad, you're going to go to hell. And this is me talking as a Muslim, and this goes to everyone who's a theist and who believes in their religion. But it's just, I can't get over it, It's like, I always sleep at night and I think like, someday, if I don't do good in this life, I'm going to end up in hell. If I do well, I'm going to end up in paradise.
I got a couple of thoughts,
like
John.
a psychological disorder,
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Part of the success of religion and its ability to stay with people and to be passed on to their children is creating this, codependent relationship where if you don't stay, it's going to be fucking worse for you. And And I don't like that kind of thing, but different people get over it different ways. One thing that I've heard, and I know it's been said on this show before, is think of other religions around the world, and those people are afraid of a different type of hell from a different deity. Why aren't you afraid of the hell created by those deities? Because you didn't learn about them when you were a child. And it also pops into my mind when our kids were really young, like 7, 8, 9, they were going to Sunday school. It's a whole nother long story, by the way. But my daughter came home from Sunday school and she said, because they had talked about the story of Abraham and Isaac, where Abraham takes Isaac up to the mountain to go kill him with a knife. And my daughter comes home really distraught. And she said to me something like, Dad, if you hear the voice of God in your head, are you going to kill me? Really? Really? That's the story we're teaching little kids, that your daddy might hear the voice of God and think that it's actually a good thing. And I had the ultimate answer, I thought, because she already knew at the time. I don't believe in Christianity. I don't believe in the Christian God. So if I heard a voice in my head that I thought was God, I would see that as a warning sign that I have a problem. I don't know exactly what that problem would be. But on the other hand, if I was a Christian and if I did believe in God and he told me to kill my kid, I'd say, fuck off. And so the same thing, if you have any kind of leftover thing that your religion is true or that God might be real, what kind of douche says that if you don't do the right thing, they're going to punish you forever? I just don't buy into that. I don't know if that helps any, John. I'm just trying to grasp for straws because it can be a lifelong problem. And I know it is for some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Phil, it's just, I guess it's something I can never get over with.
You can get over it.
Well,
Don't say never. You can.
I hope so. Well, honestly, I'm like borderline atheist. It's just, okay, so maybe this is the first time you're going to hear this, but like, I do believe there is a God, but at the same time, it's just, I don't believe in any religion. I don't believe there's a way to reach God in prayer and doing good and sacrificing and all that crap. It's just, there is a chance. It's like how Richard Dawkins gave a scale of like 0 to 7, and he's like on the 6th, where he believes like there's no God. He's a 6 out of 7. It's just I'm there, but I don't say the word atheist because I feel like it's a huge step. I'm not.
It makes it real
willing to take the step.
And can I
go ahead, Shannon.
Can I share something with you, John? Because I think that there's some overlap in our stories, and maybe I can like commiserate a little bit, and you might benefit from. So when I first deconverted, I was this isn't the first time I've heard it because it's something that I experienced myself. So I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to be a Christian anymore. Like it's different as you're deconverting from being a Muslim. And actually, Apostate Prophet is now one of the hosts of the show, who is an ex-Muslim. He's hosting next week, so he'd be a great person to call back and have a chat with. But I am going to share this with you because I did basically the same sort of thing. But yeah, like I said, he is an ex-Muslim, so he's going to have a lot more overlap in his experiences, but potentially. But I couldn't shirk off the label of theist. So I tried to like go looking for other ways to retain being a theist, like having a belief in God, because I had so intertwined my emotional state and my approach to the world in somehow being attached to this like imaginary relationship that I thought that I had, that it was very, very difficult for me to make it real by just uttering even the words, I'm an atheist. I don't think that that's real anymore. Like that I knew that was going to hit me hard. So I tried to find any other avenue that I could to retain it. And that is a normal human thing to do. The same with the fear of hell. The fear of hell is like, it's a fail safe for people who no longer think that the religion makes sense, because that fear is instilled so deeply that even if nothing makes sense anymore, you can't just turn off the switch that has like instilled that fear in you. those are very difficult emotional things that you need to grapple with when you can no longer reason your way into belief. We find these other ways to have these sort of ambiguous connections where we say, well, I know that this is nonsense. Like if I look at the book and all of this stuff, I know that's nonsense, obviously. But what do I do about all of these feelings? Like these feelings are still as real as they were before. I just don't have anything that I can ground them in now that's tangible to me like it was before, and that's scary. But there is another side to it. Like you can get over that fear of hell, and the way that I did that was incrementally talking to myself about how I didn't believe it was real anyway. Like, what do I fear things that I don't think are real? Is that a rational fear? How can I rationalize my way out of this fear the way I rationalized my way out of the belief? Is it real, Shannon? Yes or no? No, of course I don't think it's real. Why am I afraid of it then? Well, what if it is real? And then here's all of the reasons that I know that it's not real, right? Like, but you have to be gentle with yourself and give yourself that time, because your reason is going to operate mentally for you faster than changing around your emotions when they surround something like this. That's just unfortunately the way that minds work, right? Emotions are the most difficult thing. Emotions approaching something are the most difficult thing to change, even when we know, like just know that the emotion is an irrational emotion. You can't just be like, I'll just stop it.
Yeah, John, I heard Julia Sweeney mentioned this in her stand-up monologue called Letting Go of God, when she was at the point where she really didn't believe in her religion, but she definitely didn't want to say she was an atheist, which kind of feels like where you might be. She did an experiment where she allowed herself to be an atheist for 1 second and then stop. And you can go, wow, that I didn't get hurt. I didn't get hit by lightning. It doesn't necessarily solve the hell problem, but just for a second, allow yourself to experience that. And then you go back to being a doubting person that thinks maybe God's still real. And try that on like a new uniform or a new outfit. The other thing, of course, if you can, maybe contact ex-Muslims organizations to talk to other people that might have a very aligned experience, more like what you have. And like Shannon said, next week, Apostate Prophet, a former Muslim, will be on. And I think that that would be a really great call for the show next week.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Great. I hope we help.
Actually,
buddy.
Yeah. I just wanted to give you a small example, if you can give me the time.
Sure. Of course.
So basically, I realized, this feeling started to increase. How can I say it? So I started thinking about it more critically and skeptically when I saw how literally religion and the holy book, let's call it the Quran or the Bible or whatever it is, it poisons people's thinking. So yes. I'll give you an example of my father. My father is a medical doctor. He studied for 14 years in his life. He has 30 years experience. He's a surgeon. But he still believes in bullshit like prophets flying on horses, Jesus turning water into wine, all this crap. I wish Matt Dillahunty was here just to talk about these things. And it's to me, it just doesn't make sense, man. It's like we live in the 21st century. How can you believe this stuff? It's like the universe creating pixies. And
right.
I don't know. But at the same time, I still do believe in a power. I have no proof of it, and I've yet to hear anyone on your show prove it.
I get to hear anyone give evidence today.
You've been closer than everybody else. You've also made more sense.
you are the best caller so far.
Yes, thank you for calling.
So much. John, I wish you the best, and call next week. I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, and I think you talking to apostate prophet would be great. And be patient with yourself. Like really do. It's
Yeah.
a journey. I know sometimes when people call shows like this, it can seem like we're very abrupt, and that's usually because people are calling to bark at us with incoherence. But like be patient with yourself. It is a journey, and nobody goes through it the same way. But find counterparts. Like Phil gave you great advice. Find people that are sharing the experience that you're sharing, where you can be open. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention Recovering from Religion. Recovering from Religion has a great hotline that you can call to have longer form conversations one-on-one, not in a public forum, with people who know what it's like to go through what you're going through. So I would very much suggest going and seeking them out so that they can help you along the way. All right.
All right.
Thanks
Thank you,
for calling,
Shannon. Thank you, Phil. Bless you guys.
Thanks, John. Have a good day. See you later. Bye.
Again,
You too.
that
Bye.
makes it all worth it. It's
Yeah.
It's rough sometimes, and I'll be asked all the time, why do I do this stuff? And it's not necessarily for the caller, because I don't think the earlier callers today had a mind to be changed. But there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that listen to this show, that watch the show, that get the podcast or segments of it on YouTube, and it can make a difference to let people know you are not the crazy one. If you have questions and concerns and doubts, I call the Bible the atheist maker, because if you sit down and read that without someone telling you how to read it, and of course you have to have a really good appreciation. And I only learned this later in life when I started learning Italian. Literal translations are very rare. When you get sentences and ideas and stuff, even going from Italian to English, we think in different ways. And so to go from a language that is dead 2, 3, 5,000 years ago, when some of these stories were written and they've gone through multiple different languages, they can't even really truly express what thoughts were had then, if they were even worth considering. But it's tough. It's tough. I don't know where I was going with that, but what do we got? More callers, I'm sure.
We do. We've probably more callers than time based on how we're going, but we'll see what we can do to get them in. All right. The next person that we're going to talk to is Mike. Hi, Mike. Thank you for calling the Atheist Experience. What would you like to discuss today?
Well, I just have one simple question. Been watching you guys for about a year and a half. I'm fascinated by your intellect and all that stuff, because I've been searching myself. But here's my question.
Sure.
My question is this: can you be an atheist without God?
I don't know what the question means. Do you mean?
Yes. Thank you for calling. That was a really good question.
All right.
Who else we got?
What is an atheist? What does it represent?
Well, an atheist is it depends on who you're talking to. The definition of atheism is much contested amongst the atheist community. But to me, it means colloquially the most common definition is that you aren't convinced that that God claims are true, like that everything that you've been presented with, basically, that's attempting to demonstrate to you that a God is real isn't compelling to you and you don't believe it. For me, I hold to a more stringent definition where I actively, like I said before, believe that God is not real, that there is no God. I actively believe that there is no God. So if you want to talk to me about it, that would be the definition I use for myself.
Gotcha. So the fact that being an atheist, so it doesn't represent the non-belief in God. Is that what you're telling me?
For me, if you ask somebody different, like I said, the definition, as is with most labels, is going to be different depending on who you're talking to.
If I go with the denotative, the dictionary definition of the word atheist means non-theist. That's it. I'm not convinced of a God or more than one God.
Yeah, and I'm not much fussed about the definitional portion of it. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Great.
All right. Well, this was
more questions and ignorance, but no evidence.
All right. Solid conversation. Okay, Mike. Well, I guess we will fit in more calls because that was easy. Well, and at least he wanted to know how each of us individually used it, because I think so many times theist arguments are it's so pivotal on how an atheist uses the definition that you get stuck up on the definition because the gotcha's dependent on which definition you use, which is a great way to have conversations.
I think there's hope for him, because once he got off his canned question of can you be an atheist without belief in God, please, that's moronic. I'm sorry. I'm glad I didn't say it when he was on the call, but after that he had some rational thoughts, and please call back. But I don't know.
Yeah. Unless he meant like if you think God exists, then there's no use for the term. Like if you think there is no God, there's no use for the term atheism.
Yeah, or just it's like when people say, "How can you have logic without God? Because God created logic."
Oh,
Shut
God
up.
damn it.
That's crazy. Go ahead. What else?
All right. We've got Kevin now too. We're gonna talk. Oh, I accidentally almost dropped him instead of picked him up. I don't know who put me in charge here. I should never be in charge. Hi, Kevin. What would you like to discuss today?
Hey guys.
Hey.
I just have a question, and based on the answer would pretty much let me know if I really disagree with you guys or not. It's a genuine question. And the one other thing I want to get to really quick after that, I feel like this might be spoken about before, but I'm kind of new to the show, so if it has, just stop me while I'm ahead. If we're creating a scenario to where we're all on the phone right now, and let's just say God of the Bible shows up right in front of us, and he's like, yeah, I'm the guy, the one that did everything. I'm me, I'm real, follow me or whatever. And he just disappears. I'm not going to ask you the question of, what do you believe in? My question is, how could I, Phil or you, demonstrate that he's the God that he says he is? Like, how do I know that's not Lord Voldemort or, anybody?
I don't really think you can.
Could I ask you a question?
How do you know that you're not having some sort of hallucinatory experience too, right? Like, so yeah, you can totally ask that question. Like, if somebody claiming to be a god appeared in front of me, I would have more questions before I just went, oh, okay, well then I guess God's real, and also it's the Christian God, and that experience was 100% genuine, palpable. Like, I would have more questions and no answers at that point in time.
And honestly, I think, Kevin, I like where you're going with this. I think it's up to God to know what would work for you.
Yeah.
And so you have the question backward, not what would it take for me to know or for me to accept that that's God. The God that I normally hear of, at least from the Christian perspective of all knowing and all powerful, knowing the past, future, and present, and omnipresent. He already knows what it would take to make me a God-believing Christian, and he hasn't chosen to do that. So the ball's in his court.
I follow that.
Yeah.
I follow that. I know you guys are short on time, so I just want to get to that second thing really quick. And it kind of connects to, and if you disagree, then let me know. But when I was 17, I went and saw a psychic on my own. And I was extremely skeptic. I'm actually skeptic about a lot of things. I am a theist, but I am still very skeptic. I walk into situations like I pretty much need to be convinced before I just believe anything. And my aunt would always tell me how legitimate they were. But when I asked her, she said, what do you want to know? I said, well, you tell me, you're supposed to know things that I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah. What do I want to know?
Well, what made it uncomfortable was she said things that were true in my past way too specific. And when I say specific, I'm not talking about, you like this woman. She named names, places. And I've never met this woman before. I've never seen her. I've never talked to her. I purposely went to, when I was in another state, I made sure just that it couldn't possibly be someone in my family that
Did you give your name for the appointment? When you made the appointment, did you give your name? You didn't give your name. Because sometimes they look you up on social media.
Kevin, I think the thing that you might benefit most from, at least from the psychic perspective, is do a little Google search on the phrase remembering the hits and forgetting the misses.
True.
Because one of the tactics for a psychic, if they're doing what's called a cold read, where they truly know nothing about you, keep it in mind there is no such thing as a cold read if you're in person, because they can see you and they can figure out things about you just by how you look. But a cold read is a process of throwing out things that have high probability of hitting. Like I could say, if I'm a psychic, I'm seeing something about the number 3. Does that mean No, I'm an only kid. Did you have parents? Yeah, I got a mom and a dad. Okay, well, that's what the 3 is about. Because, and if it's not the mom and the dad, if you have 2 siblings, well, there's the 3. If you have 1 sibling and a dog that you love, there's the 3. So they can post hoc rationalize this random number that they threw out, which is not actually random. They often start with 3 because they know they can always build something with 3. If they said 7, well, that's a lot harder. So, you start off with something like, I'm seeing a name of a person and it starts with a D and an M. They aren't picking random letters. They're picking some of the very most popular letters. And if you pick, A, B, C, D, or M, S, T, R, letters like that, the odds are like 95% that you're going to have someone within the 5 or 6 most closest people to you that have one of those letters in their first or last name. So it seems like, oh my God, you got something right away. Plus, if you're in person, they can look at you, and like my hands are baby soft. So I don't work for a living. Someone who studies humans will know instantly that I don't do any fucking work. And they can look at you and make some educated guesses. They know your age, they know maybe your race, or maybe they might be able to identify your gender if they're going with a binary thought process. They can see what you drove up in a Harley Davidson or a Toyota Prius and make some assumptions about what your lifestyle is.
I agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they can have without even doing research.
I think so. If you can pick this apart, and like I said, I'm not being facetious. I'm being literal. If I could take the literal that she said, because everything you said was I agree with, because it was kind of catch-22. I get it. I walked in and I said, "Well, you tell me." And she looked at me for a couple of seconds and she was like, "That girl, Natalia, don't worry, you'll see her again." And I was like, "Why do you?" I'm in my teenage years, and all my life I've been fantasizing about my first crush. How does she know her name?
Yeah, Kevin, if you want to do an experiment,
back out of the country,
go to another psychic and get permission to record the entire event, and then look back and see how they may have mentioned 4 or 5 names that afterwards you forgot, because Natalia, man, that lit your brain up like a freaking 4th of July, and you forgot about the other names that they mentioned. And it's not that you're trying to.
About one thing.
What's that? That you're going to call the show?
She was wrong about one thing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure she was wrong about a lot of things, but go ahead, tell me.
No, I wasn't going to interrupt you. I was just saying you're correct. She was right about, a couple of things, but there was one thing that I do very well remember she was dead wrong about.
Yeah. So
I'm following you, what you're saying.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I used to do cold readings to show people how psychics do it. The problem I did it 3 times, and it was convincing enough that it disturbed the person to the point where they thought maybe I had some skill, when my whole point was to show them that I didn't have a skill. And so it backfired. It's an amazing process. I had a person that cut my hair, and I made some assumptions, and next thing I know, I'm talking about her dear friend Amy, and I said something like this was one of the phrases that I used. Okay, we're talking about Amy now, because I didn't get the name Amy. She provided it to me, but later she swore that I said Amy. I never did until she said it. And I said something like this: I'm getting something about Amy's car. And she says, "Oh my God, she just bought a car." I didn't say that she bought a car. I didn't say that she sold a car. I didn't even say she has a car. I said, I see something about a car. And if she had said, well, she's trying to buy a car, that would fit. Yeah, if she got a new car, if she just sold a car, anything would fit. And what is the percentage of adult population in the United States of America that have or want or need a car? Almost everybody. So it's a moronic thing for me to say. And then I said to her, and she said she has a car. And I said, is it kind of a cheap, crappy car? And she's like, oh my God, how would you know that? Well, what I did is I associated my hairstylist, who has a crappy, shitty car, and assumed that her friend would likely be in the same socioeconomic status as her. So if my stylist has a shitty car that I happen to know about, so I'm not even doing a cold rating here. It's a warm, if not a hot rating. I know she has a shitty car. There's a good chance that someone of her age and socioeconomic status also has a shitty car. But she saw it as like, oh my God, you know about her car. No, I made shit up.
Just question, Phil. Is it possible that if you're way too specific, that it just could bring up questions? You know, like there's things
No,
about.
they just blow past it. They blow past it. Like if they're too specific, they go, "Oh no, that wasn't it. That's not. It was coming to me differently. I actually meant this." And you don't. Our memories aren't that great. Yeah. We like to think that they're phenomenal, but they're not that great. And we remember things that pertain to us a lot more than things that are erroneous.
With the car. If the answer I got back was she doesn't own a car, she drives a motorcycle. I don't know anything about a car. Well, the spirits are telling me she wants to buy a car, and go ask her. And then she goes and asks her friend and says, "You ever thought about buying a car?" Yeah. Well, I mean, it's obvious.
Pretty obvious, though.
They're obvious to you and me in the story that I'm telling. But when that happens to someone, especially not necessarily you, but someone who's predisposed to believe, because when I went through this cold read, warm read with my stylist, after it was over, I stopped to explain to her what I had done and how it worked, with the expectation that I was going to convince her that it was just kind of a psychological mental game. And her response finally was, "Okay, I understand. You don't want people to know that you have the skill." And I was like, "No, that." And so after having that happen a couple of times, but I could also see that if I didn't know how cold reading worked, and I had said things, and she keeps reaffirming all the positive things that I hit, I could see how I could convince myself, if I didn't know how it worked, that I had something. I also remember a time, I don't remember where we were on vacation somewhere, and we walked by a little storefront that does psychic readings and palm reading and all that stuff. And there's a lady standing outside the front door smoking. And as I walk by her, she says, "She's going to call you. It's going to be okay." And because I knew what she was doing, I just started laughing hysterically. I thought it was the funny, but she can stand there and say, you know, when someone else walks by, "They really do love you." They're going to be like, "Oh, you know, I was having problems with somebody in my family." Yeah.
I know you guys are out of time, and I just, for everybody listening and you guys, before I see crazy, the last thing I wanted to say was, as a skeptic, for me, I was just taken aback that, you know, not only did she name a specific name, she also made it very clear that this person was not around and that I would see her again. And the reason it immediately snatched me is because I'm a teenager. This is somebody I had met in 4th grade and moved out of the country, and I never heard from. And she should not know that she was out of the country, and she should know her name. And she should know that was been on my heart.
She didn't say she was out of the country, though. All she said was, "Name, you'll see them again." Anybody who wasn't currently in the room with you that had a name that would have fit that description. So she just managed to find a name of someone you know, and say you'll see them again.
A lot of names.
Well, I mean, maybe like you may have given her a cue you don't know about also, or maybe she just got lucky. But like the saying "you'll see her again" is just
that's
lucky for her that there was an emotional connection to that, and now you remember that.
If they throw out a name that they think might be a name of somebody in your sphere of influence, I mean, you probably have 50 to 100 people who you know that know you, and you know their names. So that now they have a really good chance of getting a correct name. They might have been able to say Larry, and it wouldn't have been Natalia, but you'd be like, "Oh, I know a Larry also." Well, it didn't hit. It's just a different.
We do have. I'm so sorry. We do have to wrap up though, because we're already over, and we have another call in the queue. So thank you for calling. It was nice to chat to you, Kevin. We're gonna try to take one more call though. So have a good rest of your day. Bye. All right, you have one more call on you before we hop over to Discord, bud. Okay, cool. We're gonna talk to Luke before we wrap everything up. Hi, Luke. What would you like to discuss today? Sorry, we don't have a significant amount of time, but I know you've been waiting, so thank you for staying in line.
It seems that I lucky with your shows on the city. I keep calling at the last time. So I started listening to the show today, and someone was talking about miracles. And you said something like, "I don't think that miracles exist."
Right, or happen,
I was wondering, what is missing? That's a question for you to say, okay, now there are miracles.
I what would be missing for me to say now there are miracles? I suppose there would have to be something that happened that I was exposed to that had absolutely no conceivable explanation for that could be in any way grounded in material reality when held under scrutiny.
Does it have to be you?
Well, if you're asking me, so that would be. Yeah. I mean, I am not in charge of, nor can I control the standard of evidence that other people apply to themselves when they attribute things as a miracle.
I mean, it's more. My question is more: if it were to happen to your close friend, for example, would it still be valuable? Or
if it happened to my close friend and they said, "Hey, a miracle happened to me," I would be respectful about the fact that that is in fact an experience they had and that they attributed it as a miracle. But what that wouldn't be is compelling to me. Somebody else can't transfer their personal experience into my mind in order for me to share that experience with them. So whatever kind of way they felt about it is, especially if they're relaying it to me secondhand, that's like a degree of evidence removed. So it's going to be even less compelling to me than if I had been present for it.
Okay, yeah. The question is more about what is missing I understand what is missing for you to recognize a miracle. It would have to happen to you. That's the answer I understood. But if a miracle were to happen to someone else, are there things that are missing right now so that you would agree that those are indeed miracles?
I would have to, in order for me to assess the situation and to say something is a miracle, I would have to have enough information to go on, right? So somebody coming up to me saying a purple unicorn manifested from thin air and did my hair and then fed me a sandwich and then disappeared, that's a miracle. Like, that's amazing. Like, them just recounting that to me isn't giving me enough information to ascertain that that was in fact an actual event that took place that was a miracle, right? So you're asking me if I can take secondhand information and go, okay, well, that's good enough. And the answer is no, never. Really.
Of course.
Yeah. And nor it shouldn't really be good enough for anybody, I don't think. Like, hearing secondhand information and only having secondhand information and absolutely nothing else. Like, if you hear secondhand information and have absolutely nothing else to go on aside from them recounting an experience to you, and you go, well, definitely, of course, I'm going to incorporate that into everything I do on a day-to-day basis because I have no reason to not believe that. That's just, poor reasoning skills, I think.
So, I'm thinking of if you might not know, I'm a Catholic right now, so we have things that we call miracles in our religion.
Yep.
And we have one of those that are we call it transubstantiation. Have you heard about it?
Transubstantiation is when the cracker turns into Jesus when you eat it.
Yeah, or flesh into flesh.
And the funny thing is, if you eat enough crackers, you're going to get every part. If you eat enough crackers, you're eventually going to get every part. Just think about that next time you're eating a cracker.
Which part is this cracker? Uh-oh.
No, I'm talking about a special event that happened from time to time, and where the cracker changed into flesh, and this flesh is like...
You don't really believe that the cracker actually changes to human Jesus flesh, though, right? Like, you don't think you're chewing on a cracker and then all of a sudden it becomes Jesus man meat in your mouth.
That's a bad cracker, dude. That's what that is.
No, Shannon. I'm not talking about what happened every Sunday or every day. I'm talking about something special, a miracle. Where...
What's the miracle, though?
That it turned to flesh, Shannon. Yeah. Well, here.
But you just told me that it didn't, so now I'm confused.
Yeah. If you had 10 video cameras up and showed a priest handing a wafer to somebody, not even handing it to them, they put it on their tongue directly, so the person receiving it doesn't even touch it other than with their mouth. They put it in their mouth directly. They close their mouth, they open it 2 seconds later, and they pull out a chunk of meat. That's still not a miracle. That's just you being tricked by magic, that someone did a stunt and you don't know how it happened.
Yeah. So what happened was usually the transubstantiation happens when the miracle of transubstantiation, the one I'm talking about with you too, is what happened when the cracker changed into flesh in the hands of the priest. Okay, no need for followers and anyone. It's just right there in front of everyone there. The thing changed just shape. The shape of the cracker is not spherical anymore, and it's a flesh. How do you call that? A piece of flesh.
So you actually believe? No, I know. I'm so confused. So like, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, because it sounds to me like you're saying that an actual miracle happened because a priest had a cracker in their hand. Let's pretend that my glasses cleaning cloth is a cracker. So a priest had a cracker in his hand, and it turned into human flesh. Like that actually happened, is what you're saying.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I think that's actually contrary to Catholic and Lutheran teachings, because it never changes to flesh in the priest hand. It only changes to flesh inside of the person who consumes it. So they're not.
Why is cannibalism a miracle?
Yeah,
I'm so confused.
I asked people, I said, if you think this actually happens, are you still participating? And if you don't think that it actually happens, are you still participating? It's a no-win scenario. But from my understanding of the teachings in the Bible, that it doesn't happen in the priest's hand. So that's not even Catholic, by the way.
Thank you, Phil. So the question is more about miracles. So events that are one-time events, like something that it's not about what happens every time you go to church and commune. It's about these specific events and what is missing to this specific event for you to
me.
That
to me, it feels like you're getting to the place a previous caller was in, is that it's a miracle only if you can't explain it. Only if you're ignorant. If you don't know how what appeared to happen in front of your face happened, you have ignorance on how it happened. That's when miracles happen. That's not a good place for a miracle to be. And so you could learn about magicians and trickery and sleight of hand and all kinds of stuff that could trick you. And hopefully, if you go to a table and there's a guy with 3 cups and a red ball, and at some point you get to put 20 Canadian dollars or about $4 US on the table to make a bet, and you don't pick the right cup, even though you followed the cup, that's not a miracle. You just don't know how it happened.
The question is, what is missing, Phil?
I don't know that there's anything missing. I think you saw something that was a trick, and you don't have more information. I guess you don't have more information. You don't know how it actually happened. So having no knowledge or lack of knowledge, and then that makes it a miracle, I think is a really sad statement about Christianity as a whole, that the only time things are miracles is when they're not understood.
And clearly was enough to compel you, right? Like, obviously you think it's a miracle. I have no contention with what you think about it, but I don't have any information, like aside from you saying, I firmly believe this happened. This is something I was present for. Like, be me for a second in this moment, like put on your Shannon hat. I don't have a hat. Put on your Shannon hair and think to yourself, okay, if I was Shannon right now, and somebody called me that I'd never met in my life and said that a priest held up a cracker in front of me and it turned into human flesh. So you're silly for not believing in miracles. Like, what should I do in that circumstance? Should I go, well, oh my God, obviously everything about what I believe just changed?
You should ask for more proof or more things to understand.
You can't give me proof though, because I wasn't there when this thing. I don't even think that it happened. Like Phil, I think is probably right, and that like you had some sort of misperception, or there was like a group experience where you all convinced each other to reconstruct it. Like there's a million mundane explanations for it, but there is no proof that you can give me because I wasn't there. Like if I put controls in place so that we could test to see if that did happen, and attempted to have it happen again, the excuse would then be, well, it needs to be a specific set of circumstances, or
only happened one
like
time.
God chooses his moments, or it was just a one-time thing. Like none of that. Like it's just not. I understand that you believe it. And I don't want to dispel the fact that you've had this experience and that it's meaningful to you, but there is no way that you can translate that meaning to me, not having ever had that experience. You're just saying, not only should you take my word for it, but my word should be good enough for you to believe something that you think is ridiculous.
Luke, if you have the ability to talk to your deity,
I'm not
what I
saying
would
that it happened. I'm asking what would convince you that it really happened.
What would convince me that it really happened?
Question I called you with.
Yeah.
What
Well,
would
here's
convince
what
you
I'm
that
asking you to do, Luke. If you have a way to talk to your deity, ask your deity what it would take, because they're going to know the answer. And then you call back next time Shannon's on, and I want you to give her the 2 words that will be necessary to convince her that it happened.
No, you cannot ask God this question, Phil. You made the mistake when you say that.
But you can ask him to turn a cracker into human flesh, though.
The Bible says that if you ask for God to move a mountain, he will move it. You can't ask him to move a cracker?
No, it's allegorical. You're taking this literally, Phil. You said something along the line in the show today.
So is it not supposed to be literal, though? You're asking me if, like, what would make me believe in a miracle, and you're talking about literal miracles, but so we are talking about literal experiences.
Again,
I don't know. We do have
with
to let you go.
Ignorance or lack of information. That's when you have a miracle.
We're way over time.
Yeah, I know.
We are. Luke, call back again when it's not the end of the show. Call back again. I'm so sorry. We're 15 minutes over time, but this was it was a cool conversation. Please call back. And I'm so sorry. I don't mean but we're way over time and we got to go on the Discord. Go over to Discord.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't
You're
want
good.
too much time. I just wanted to understand how your critical mind works, and there was no way for me to hear about it. I understand that it sounds weird when it comes from someone else, but when someone says you weren't there, but how would you be convinced that this event happened? And you say, well, I would have need to be there for me to be convinced. That's
All right. Well, thanks.
That'd be phase 1 for sure. All right. See you later, Luke. Bye. Not only would I have to be there for me to be convinced and not just take it on secondhand information, there would have to be, like I said initially, I think my initial answer would probably stand then, is that there would have to be absolutely no other conceivable or possible mundane explanation that had any sort of grounding in physical reality for me to accept it.
Have I or you or anyone seen a magician do something and go, I don't know how they did that? Okay, just stop. I don't know how they did that. That's the end of the discussion process. Now it goes because I don't know how it's a miracle. What a pathetic miracle. Why not end hunger?
Right? Oh my gosh.
A piece of flesh. I'm the all-powerful God.
Yeah. Stop making cannibalism crackers. Yeah. Stop some wars or something. All right, cool. We are at our end. I want to thank the crew again. Yay, crew. Woo! Crew's the best. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all the hard work you do. We appreciate you guys. And thank you for everybody. Yeah, and Crew Cat is in particular. Thank you for everybody who tuned in today. We always appreciate it.
Do we have
I'm gonna jump over to Discord in a few minutes, so that if you guys have any more questions or want to interact with Phil and I think we'll both be over there for a little bit. So you guys can come hang out with us. And as always, everybody, help elevate the discourse. Bye.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
It's time to get sexy, so watch Secular Sexuality live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTSS and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callsex.